Hello, yep, that's right. Great and glorious NickDutch here, yet again, that voice peering out at you from the dark. Okay, just want to talk today about a call I had today with a client. A very interesting, very lengthy call it was, about how this particular character, this particular lady, could start to work on uniting her own psychological and theological practices with, in this case, the lunar and seasonal cycles. This particular character was born and brought up a Catholic, and it didn't really agree with her, so she went through the processes of experimenting with the New Age movement, paganism, and then read rather heavily into the Wiccan faith, which is brilliant. But she was at a loss as to how to really incorporate pagan ideas comfortably into her life. So we had to break down a few ideas. There was an awful lot of ideas that had just been thrown at her and thrown into her mind, and realistically she was finding it a little difficult to cope with. Such as the threefold law of Wicca. Well, basically that was written down by a human being. It's not scientifically tested and evaluated. It's a superstition, it's a belief, it's a religious thing. It's not necessarily indicative of what is real, either in the supernatural world or in the real world. So I had to stop her from feeling guilty about that, because any single action that you do, even me sitting here doing this video may actually seem antagonistic to somebody and is therefore possibly even hurting somebody. So the idea of harm none is actually impossible. Alright, so I had to explain that to her, and also to point out that within all religious practices, essentially they're a half-truth designed to bring people into a certain mold, rather than to provide people with the freedom that they need to be who they are. However, when it comes to seasonal celebrations, such as for the lunar cycles, for the cycles of the earth, that's something which can be very beneficial to the mind and, by inference, to the body of the individual practitioner. So I suggested, I recommended candle burning as a means of celebrating the various different phases of the moon. And I suggested various different colored candles to choose, like a black candle for the new moon, a silver candle for the full moon, and a white candle for the waxing and the waning moon. And she was writing this down, and she was writing down, well, hang on a minute, the color black is supposed to mean this, and the color silver is supposed to mean that. I had to say, no, stop, wait, just wait a minute, alright? Just forget that. Because it's more a question of how you as an individual react to the colors and the symbolism, to what makes, the real magical connection happen. I had to point out, I was just suggesting those colors to the client. I had to point out that those were colors that made sense. That's why I suggested silver for the full moon, because the moon is of a silvery color, therefore silver is a good idea to burn as a candle. If you prefer to use white, then go ahead, use white. I suggested white for the full and, the half moon, waning and waxing. Because that also kind of made sense, because you could say silver is the full power and white is halfway there, and of course the black candle for the actual new moon, when you're not getting any light from the moon. Again, that just makes basic symbological sense. So when you yourself as a practitioner are working with color, don't worry too much about what the colors are supposed to mean in accordance with a book that you picked off a certain off the shelf of a certain book in Museum Street in London, or from any other particular New Age practitioner. Don't worry too much about that. What you see in these books is essentially a suggestion based upon the symbology of one particular person who wrote that particular book, which is based upon certain religious ideas that some people have created. So don't worry about that. Let that just melt away for a while, and think about how you interact with the color, or maybe even how the colors are used in your culture, how the colors are used in advertising or in logos, what they mean when you're thinking about traffic lights, and what the colors mean there. And more importantly, how you as an individual react when you're contemplating, thinking about meditating on the colors, or when you're actually wearing those colors, and what kind of an impact that has upon your mind, your personality, your performance, or anything anything else about you. So, you can take a much more relaxed attitude to symbolism than just what is rigidly structured in a book. Remember, some people see the color blue as being there for healing or for intellect or tranquility, but other cultures see the color blue as being that for despair, and is actually used in curses and terrible things. So just remember that different cultures will use different colors in different ways. You are your own practitioner. Use your own symbolism in its own ways. I also pointed out to this particular client, naturally I'm not mentioning any names at all because every single call is complete client confidentiality. I also mentioned that a sensation of having had received maybe some, black magic or alleged curses from various people could even be down to your body being out of sorts. You can be sensitive to the theoretical energies of spiritual healing. So if someone's feeling shitty, you can be really empathic with them and also feel that shittiness coming from them. So you can do different visualizations to be able to protect yourself. And I recommended the 10 spheres of the Tree of Life, which of course if you go back to my other videos, on the Kabbalah, you'll see a brief description of how that can be used in visualization with spheres of white light in various different positions on the body where the various spheres of the Tree of Life go, and that can act as a shield to protect you. And also other things like the vanishing rider pentagram. Naturally, you don't do any of these in public places because you look an arsehole. But you can do it before you go out, before you go to public places, before you engage with people, just to give you that extra feeling of calm, serenity, being back on track. And it's also quite useful to do when you're feeling stressed and you're feeling under threat. For instance, I've just had a nasty argument with someone, so I'm probably going to do a meditation later on today. So to just bring me back to that feeling of being, mind-body awareness, feeling at one with myself. And after that, I know I'm going to be calmer. I know I'm going to be more tranquil, more focused, because that is the benefit of doing that particular exercise. And naturally, through practice with meditation, I know the various different states of mind which are beneficial for that, and the reverent, prayerful state of mind is one of them, and the other just straightforward, slow, low, contemplative state of mind is another one which can be used. And you learn to cultivate these things, just like you learn to cultivate the emotion of memory when you're trying to remember something. Alright, let's say I'm trying to remember what happened 5 years ago. I have to think back. What is that state of mind? What is that emotion of thinking back? How does that feel? And can I then think about how that feels? And then use that as a tool to bring myself back into that state of mind so I can then remember something, okay? So there's all kinds of little ways you can use to trick your own mind to get into the right states of mind to be able to do any form of apparent or alleged or actual supernatural activity. Note I say apparent, alleged or actual because I don't want to give you the hopes that you're going to be able to cure the world of each and every single disease just by Wednesday afternoon, just by doing this kind of stuff. We have to still stick with the state of mind that everything that we're doing is still theoretical, but we're starting to get some more results as time goes by. That's the best attitude, or I think that's the best attitude. You probably will disagree with me if you're more of the I've got to follow the tradition type of mentality, but you don't have to follow traditions. You can use traditions as suggestions, but remember, it's you who's the practitioner, not the person who wrote that book which you bought from that special shop in Museum Street in London, or whichever New Age provider. So just something else to bear in mind, so that you can hopefully be a little more on target and rational, down to earth, and hopefully more effective with the experimental supernaturalist work that you're doing. Have fun, stay free, don't go mad, and keep working your magic, your sweet, sweet magic.